Thank you for having me. We are going to talk a little bit about the County of Santa Clara and a case study that they did. Before we do that, I'd like to kick off, we have a nice video from their former CPO, who is also sitting in your audience, Genti. So welcome, Genti. Thanks for coming down.
Procurement is an awesome function. You know, everybody procures every day. We have a passion for improvement. Santa Clara is the 6th largest county in the state of California, and it's known as the heart of Silicon Valley. We have Google and Apple and Intel. We're going to see a massive transformation in the public sector because technology is allowed to be embraced and adopted by government.
Ariba actually has really changed our life, the way we do business in the county. Since it's a cloud-based solution, it's more agile, more efficient.
Cycle time for manual requisition was between 1 to 4 weeks. Now 90% is within the same day.
All our end-to-end transactions from procure to pay, they're all automatic electronic transactions, so we really enjoy it.
We run a county hospital, jail, parks, so procurement is a vital part of the entire county's ecosystem. Our goal is to ensure that we give every vendor an equal opportunity, and also our social economic factors like local preference, green procurement are all taken into consideration when we do the sourcing. Transparency in public purchasing is very, very important because it's tax-based money. And transparency in the procurement process has been enabled in a better way because we are utilizing technology. With Ariba, we have both compliance as well as operational efficiencies, which is a huge plus. And our leadership role is also transforming how we could be partners and collaborators rather than the paper pushers. So it's a huge, significant change. We've embarked on it, and it's going to get better.
Now that is an enthusiastic person about talking about procurement, right? Thank you, Genti. When we look at that, one of the things I would like you guys to think about from the County of Santa Clara is think of the pressures they have to use the Ariba tagline, make procurement awesome, right? You're in an environment where your constituents are highly innovative. They're told to break rules, right? You don't make it rich in Silicon Valley doing the same thing that you did yesterday, do you? So now the county, you're trying to service the constituents, and they're looking at green screens from what they would probably say 1912. We might say later than that, right? So from that standpoint, this is a county that several years ago looked at it and said, we have a lot of pressure. One is to improve our processes internally, but we have to service the people that want to be serviced, right? So when you look at that, there were more complexities and more pressures on them to change than to stay the same. But it's awkward and it's uncomfortable to change, right? You guys have done the exercise where if you always put on your right sock in the morning to go and try and put the left sock on first, it just feels weird. So all of this that I've heard and all the themes I hear today are about change and how do you get that change and how to get over that hump. So when we talk about the case study for Santa Clara, they were very methodical in how they went through this because they knew they had to be disruptors. And that's the piece I think that really helped them be foundationally successful and achieve and go beyond the goals that they set forth, was they needed to understand why they were doing it with a mission statement, have a vision to where they were going in the future, and add in those values, just like Michael talked before, right? You have to have integrity. People have to understand what you're trying to accomplish, but they also had fiscal goals. They knew how to identify whether their project would be successful or not because they put some baselines in place or key process indicators, right, which they continue to evolve and do today. So they have their strategies in place. And I think that if you take a step back and look, like the sourcing and consolidation and negotiation of programs, that's what we've heard several times today, right? Everybody's trying to get there and thinking about how they're going to do it. use the best practices of procurement. You know, I guess we're all supposed to be disruptors a little bit. And when I heard this morning, you know, everybody's different. I've been in this business for more than 20 years, and started when I was in kindergarten, as you well know. But from that standpoint, you have to push and you have to be a disruptor, but you also have to look to, there's a whole bunch of people ordering pens, might be the wrong pens, but ordering pens, and it's not that hard. Do we sometimes make it hard? Yes. Do we sometimes fall back in the excuses of compliance or government regulations? Absolutely. So separating what is really required for legal and regulatory reasons versus what's required because that's the way we've always done it, those are challenges that County of Santa Clara had to face and had to look at. Professional and dedicated organization. We all know that the aging workforce is putting pressure on us as well, right? We have the brain drain going out. We have new talent that we need to attract. And they, especially in the Silicon Valley, when you're attracting talent, they don't want to work with old systems that are rudimentary, that take 12 clicks to get through. So if you want to attract talent, you have to be attractive. Fair? So those are the kinds of things that Santa Clara really faced, I think, more than almost anywhere else in the country. Maybe Austin. I'm hearing that in Austin some too, where you've really got a high-tech hotbed and you're really getting those pressures. Look at that fact-driven decision-making, right? Remember the old days of coming to the meeting and everybody has a different spreadsheet and you argue over the answers instead of moving forward. So Santa Clara was squeezing all of that, what we call slop, out of the processes. And then good systems. But what was this transformation for? I agree with Michael that the technology was just a foundation, but it was the foundation for doing better business today, relieving the pressure in IT, because Ariba is SaaS-based that they selected, so that they could go on and do other things, but also set up County of Santa Clara for future innovation that none of us have seen yet. Because if you have old systems, you can't, you're just trying to get even, trying to catch up, right? You've got to be well-positioned for the things we can't see, the things that are around the corner. And I really like the work that they did here. So they were methodical in, okay, why does the accounting need to change? Because you know about 3 months into the process, after all the selections were done, people were going to Genti and going, why are we doing this again? And she was going, slide 6, right? So, you know, it's on the shared drive, right? So some of that is, you have to, with your team, Raj asked, make sure that we've got some specific things that will help you be successful as you embark on these new projects. And one is the team has to be aligned. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing, because you're going to get pushback. And you're going to get some people saying you're not going fast enough, right? You're just never perfect, right? So they wanted to consolidate their processes. They wanted consistent utilization of procurement practices. So while they had the medical centers and the different government agencies, still, some of the processes, while they might be a bit different, you might have different approval flows, a couple accounting rules change. In general, the high-level process was very, very similar. So they standardized that, and they leveraged the best practices from their system. And then they focused on contract compliance and accountability. So compliance, I not only heard it at Santa Clara, we also have City of San Diego here. Hi, Christina and team. And from that, you've also got the standpoint of compliance means when I have auditors coming in and they want to understand where things are and how you did stuff and why, you need to be able to get to that data. We talked about data-driven this morning. And that means that it has to be accessible, and you need to pull out those reports or look at dashboards online. And so you need that compliance, you need the accountability, and I would add visibility to that too, which you probably would too now, right? It's not only having the data in, right? I got to get it out. So we worked really hard with County of Santa Clara and team to get that done. The other one was a complete end-to-end procurement process. Let's get rid of all the stovepipes and the different systems doing things so that I have all that integration, which as a purist I call spaghetti code. That you're relying on 1 or 2 guys that coded in the dark room, and if they go on vacation and something goes down, you know, we all got to twiddle our thumbs for a bit. You got to get rid of that. Fully integrated platform with an end-to-end source-to-pay solution. and you sleep better at night. And anybody can take vacation, and anybody can be promoted in their organization because other people can fill in and take over their jobs, right? So that's a great way to be. So it's a complete end-to-end process, and then you can see what their goals were in terms of value improvements over a 5-year period. They evaluated their 5-year cost of ownership from a budgeting perspective. And then if you really pull it up into the high level, right, 3 impact areas: improve spend and contract compliance, reduce material and services costs due to better strategic sourcing, right, and then improve all those procurement processes and efficiencies. What comes next in government decisions? How do we mitigate risk? How are we going to be successful? There's going to be a lot of people trying to help us or not sure that they want to get on our bus, right? And so from that standpoint, there were 3 main things that were the key to their success in watching them go through this. One is they leveraged best practices, because sometimes the questions are, well, why do we have to do it that way? You know, if everybody else that's a lead level 1 innovator is doing it that way, unless yours is better, why wouldn't you? I guess so. More moving to the concept of why not, as opposed to why, right? And then we've implemented hundreds and hundreds of organizations from an Ariba perspective. So the team elected to go with Ariba Consulting. There are other fabulous consultants out there, but from a risk mitigation, they wanted to get that one throat to choke. They wanted to hug us and strangle us if we didn't do the right thing, right? And so that allowed them to be more agile from their implementation methodology and to move more quickly, move much more quickly. The other one is to take on the risk of doing a whole project across all the different locations and all the different departments all at once was a really big elephant to eat, right? So how to eat that elephant? What's the best way to eat an elephant? You all know, 1 bite at a time, right? So from that standpoint, it was get small successes, hit small milestones, get momentum, get confidence in my organization. If I've got one organization adopting quickly, I'll have another organization, wait, me next, as opposed to, I'll be 5th. You guys ever rolled something out? People want to be 5th. I don't know what 5th is, but that's what they want to be, right? And we don't have time for 5th anymore. We don't have time. The other one is readiness and risk assessment. Before you plug in and go live, let's do lots of testing. Let's test business processes. Let's test the integration back and forth. So that was very systematic in their approach. So before they went live, they knew what they were getting into, right? And then the next one is, okay, after we go live, how can the county realize the business value? And from that standpoint, it was also about having stakeholder alignment outside of procurement, because procurement touches many other areas, finance. I'm going to separate payables a little bit because of all the invoicing. Michael talked about when you want diversity and you want to be inclusive in terms of your vendor selection. And he talked about how you can't make it hard for small, minority, women-owned businesses to answer your RFPs. I've been one of those small, diversity, women-owned businesses. I really like getting paid on time. So it's not only procurement, it's the finance side and the invoicing side. Anecdotally, I was working with a government agency in the San Diego area, not city of San Diego, and I showed up at the door with my invoice one day, and I brought 3 copies. And they said, why'd you bring 3? I go, well, you always lose 2, so here's a 3rd one. I don't have to come back. And that is not a joke, right? And they're like, haha, you're funny. Guess what? We lost all 3 at once, right? So from that standpoint, the whole process needs to be taken into consideration. All the governance, all the KPIs. And then County of Santa Clara had a very solid project management office made up of multiple stakeholders that met regularly and had a cadence. So when I look at that, and Raj asked me to help you get back some time here, right? I talked ahead of the slide. This is the complexity they were faced with, not only from a process standpoint, but confronted with all the policies and regulations that change, right? that change, that don't stay the same. Some of it we don't want to stay. All the budgeting and pre-encumbrance and encumbrance requirement, all the supplier diversification requirements. There's a lot there that you have to take into consideration. So here's what they did. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, right? You have 2 back-end ERP systems that had to be integrated to. Key was to get very good spend data so you could do analysis to be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Run that, integrate with your suppliers, make suppliers easy to onboard, make them interested in doing business with you. If we cut their costs in terms of the expense to answer an RFP and to work with us, it'll drive down your procurement costs too, right? Your per unit costs. And then I thought it'd be nice for you to see these. We got these recently. I'm looking at Charlie. They may be even better than this, but the thing I like, look at that, 97% of all requisitions are approved in a day. Is that an amazing metric? Right? Go take that back with you, right? What'd you learn today? So they've done some fabulous things and they're not done. The other thing I wanted to show you was what's next, because it's gone are the days of the go live and we're done. It's continuous process improvement now, right? So ongoing adoption by users. Users went live, they're using things, knowledge degrades, I gotta do some new programs, I've gotta get more people in it, right? Let's get active engagement with SAP. Genti's pulling on our ears all the time, tugging on us, right? When are you meeting with the president of Ariba you did last week, right? We're not doing enough for her. We are not doing enough for her, and we know it. Keep yelling at us. Oh, Christine's gonna start it too, aren't you? Yeah. Right? It is okay because it's important. It's important that we help you, right? Because we can help do things better in general. There are some things that are coming around the corner. Artificial intelligence for contract management. If 90% of the time I have a contract that I substitute this clause for that clause, why not change our contracts and just put it in? Let's make ourselves easier to do business with. So there's a lot of that planning and those things that work. Cognitive procurement. I mean, maybe they don't need us in a year or two, right? So let the systems learn for you and make you better and have you focus more strategically. KPIs change, right? You have a baseline of KPIs, you love them, then you break them, you beat them, right? 97% of all your requisitions are approved in a day. Now I got to change that KPI because 97 isn't good enough, right? Or I work on something else. And then risk management, right? Which is all forms of risk, really. What's been announced just in May is Gartner Group found SAP Ariba to be, you see, in the upper right. Imagine that with a star. Upper right corner. But the reason is our ability to execute, right? We could meet the county's requirements in terms of supporting them, as well as completeness of vision. It is hard to do business, as sophisticated as your organizations are, with technology firms that can't invest in things that are coming that we can't see yet. Because then you're always a step behind, or they're looking for funding or something like that. So we've tried to help. Hopefully you would say we've helped, right? But we worked as a shoulder to shoulder as a partnership with County of Santa Clara and continue to help make them successful. So that's kind of, I don't know if there's questions. I'd be happy to, or I know that happy hour is coming in a couple hours. Yeah. Do you have or is there a link to this presentation? Do you guys have it online publicly or anything like that? Are you? Yeah, they'll put it live. We tried to link this also, like the video, which is to me fabulous for getting a room going and understanding and maybe your internal meetings. Ariba.com, it's in the case studies there and references. Sure.
You spoke a little bit about partnership with the county. So would you give us a little bit of background about how that came about? Was that Santa Clara looking for a solution, or was that SAP really demonstrating value? And
it'll sound self-serving if I am.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Hello, folks. I was not planning to be here to represent Ariba or County of Santa Clara. I retired in December of 2017. But I came here to see what Raj is doing and networking. So I just want to put it out there because there's a new CPO there. I used to be the former Chief Procurement Officer of the County of Santa Clara. But when it all started was we were $55 million over a contract value, and we had to go to the board. And that was probably our 6th or 7th contract in that quarter asking for forgiveness because we had 2 ERP systems that don't talk to each other, no interface. And I was executing all those contracts, but they were buying the contracts off of a different system. So when the board asked me to look into solutions, since we are a SAP ERP shop since 2003, one of the things I did was, why don't I look at the materials management module and try to procure their SRM solution. But I was against on-premise solutions. And since I was the technology buyer, CPO for the entire county, I actually asked SAP to come and present the solutions. And when they offered SAP, as well as Ariba was acquired by SAP, and I've been following them from 1999 since I was in city of Sunnyvale, they proposed 3 solutions, and I selected Ariba as a single source because we are an enterprise SAP shop in County of Santa Clara. And I could tell you 2 things. Somebody asked about cost savings. If there's anything you want to talk to your leaders, because the first thing they ask procurement is, so are you going to cut costs if I give you money to buy a system? And second thing is, how many people are you going to cut when you're going to automate? And the 4 things that Ariba promised me, which I had to hold myself accountable to explaining to the public and the board, was there's 4 things. One is cost savings, which we all do, even if you're doing manually, if you're good at it. The second one is operational efficiencies, cycle time, and the number of people touching the procurement processes. That's actually not quantifiable to get money back because you ask those people to do other work other than cutting people. They do better and more effective and efficient work. And the third one is compliance, right? Our tail spend, which we call it as small dollar purchase, P-card spend, at County of Santa Clara was $40 million, and we didn't have any data. We were buying all types of small dollars. Maximum value was $25,000, and when the auditors go in, it was $1.2 million. So compliance is very important. And the fourth one is cash management, because we have early payment discounts, which the board wanted it, and we also incorporated that. So out of the 4, of course, like iValua folk was here this morning and said, in the first year you don't see any, and you'll see those in the later years. You're going to see cost savings. You're never going to give it back to the board, but you use it for other areas of operational needs. And the second thing is, by the staffing time it takes to get a requisition from 1 to 4 weeks, it used to get lost, and they always blame procurement. It's in procurement. And when they call us, we say, we have never seen it, So those are things you can immediately see value and able to show the value of enabling your business processes with technology, right? It's not a technology transformation. Then the other piece that I want to share is, when you talk about these things to people, the board thought, okay, the day Genti implements the system, everything's going to be beautiful. We're going to be like Microsoft. By the way, last year, Microsoft was as bad as County of Santa Clara because they were just on Ariba Live, and I'm like, please move over. I would like to talk to you because I have better savings than you, But at the end of the day, it all depends on how the board thought, we're going to have everything automated, and they'll be able to look at 20 years of data. When we did our data analytics and spend management, we had 2 ERP systems, and the biggest gripe for the board of supervisors was, we had a sister agency, Valley Transportation Authority, and we had a partnership with them. And for the last 5 years, they've been asking, how much money did we spend? And our CEO says, we don't know. We have to look in the system. And they contacted Valley Transportation Authority, and they said $1 million. When we did our data rationalization, and we got our data, at least for the last 12 months, because that's what we contracted with Ariba, it was $98 million. Wow. So those are things, it's not going to, everything's not going to be like, wow, it's like an Amazon-like setting, which is what we thought, but it's our perspective. Sometimes it's the unknown, but when you get it, you're going to evolve to be better on a daily basis, and then you're going to make that happen for your organization. And every best practice is a buzzword, is what's going to work for you in your organization. That's very important. Hopefully this helps. And my former team, they're all watching from Santa Clara. They're like, Genti, we're watching you. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to be here to speak about Ariba. So that's a disclaimer if anybody is. But I did bring Ariba into the county of Santa Clara, and I'm very proud of it. And I can like to introduce Cristina Peralta, the progressive Chief Procurement Officer from the City of San Diego, who's doing amazing things. And she should be saying a few words, not me, actually. No, these are all a group of procurement professionals, so we should be talking and encouraging them. That video, I was scared to do the video, but I did it. 2 hours, but 4 minutes.
Thank you. Hi. I apologize, Raj. I'm sorry. So Cristina Peralta, happy to be here from the city of San Diego. This is a fantastic forum, and I think it's a really good opportunity. Genti talked a lot about the support that she had from the board, but I think it's also really important for you procurement professionals to take ownership of your processes. And if you want to see change, you need to be brave, like Michael O spoke about, kind of not being so risk averse. Take ownership of those changes that you want to see. Get your C-suite and your leaders behind you. I was a relatively new director for the city of San Diego. I was a transplant from LA County. They had no reason to trust me, but they did. And when I said, we're implementing Ariba after meeting Genti, we are 2 modules in. So you just have to trust the solution. It's not always an easy journey, but it's so worth it.